This is gonna hurt. It's time for the Suffering Podcast.
From a very early age, we're taught that our choices define us. Hanging out with the wrong group of friends will inevitably get you into trouble. Don't work hard in school, and you'll fail or get left back. The choices of youth rarely have any consequences, and if they do, they're usually mild. As we grow older, the results and responsibilities of our choices grow exponentially. By the time we're adults, we are prepared for full accountability. Not every choice you make in life is going to be soundly thought out. Some will be rash and carry severe penalties. The true mark of a human being is that we own all of our choices, both the good and the bad. I'm Kevin Donaldson here with Mike Failace, and on this episode of the Suffering Podcast, we welcome Mike Panus to discuss the suffering of drunk driving. Mike's decision-making, younger, is a little off, but
yeah, we've all been there.
We've all been there. Unfortunately, he's carried with it some very serious consequences. And thank you so much for coming in,
Kevin. It's such an honor to be here. I'm still in awe, and it's really.
It's funny. It gave me like shot out of a cannon today.
No, it's great, but it's nice. It's nice because we get that excited about every single show. All right, even when the storyline isn't close to our heart, we're still excited to hear what somebody has to say, and it's nice to have that reciprocated.
There's multiple reasons why the energy is kind of so high right now. It's been a while.
Cocaine? No.
I tell people that all the time. I'm like, I don't even do any drugs, and it's like this every day. But no, it's.
My father always said, I don't like cocaine. I just like the smell of it.
But no, I'm just really excited to be here. Made a little trip down here from Connecticut, and can't thank you enough, Kevin and Mike.
Thanks for coming in. Before we get into anything, let's give a shout out to our marquee sponsor. That's Toyota of Hackensack. We don't trust anybody, but we do trust Toyota of Hackensack. So if you're looking for a car, go to toyotahackensack.com. Let them find you a car. So Mike, I've done a lot of research about you, my man.
Oh boy, is that so?
All you got to do is put his name in Google, and it's like pages.
Or as your dad would say, the Google.
The Google.
The Google. Mike, each week we take a question from our audience, and I pulled this one specifically for you, and it's from Terrence N. It says, how can someone take responsibility for their own bad behavior? You're somebody who through my research, has taken ultimate responsibility for their bad behavior, but if you were to give that advice to somebody else, what kind of suggestion would you give them?
The first thing that comes to mind is just taking ownership of whatever decision that you had made that was a poor decision. Not blaming anyone else, just taking ownership. That's how I think is the best way to take responsibility for any bad decision that you make.
Mike, what do you think?
It really goes back to what was that show back in the day when you were growing up, Beretta, I think it was. Don't do the crime if you can't do the time.
From a guy who ultimately killed his wife. It's kind of odd.
But that's really it. Like you said, you got to own up to it. And if you're going to do something, everything has consequences, whether it be a good deed or something bad. Everything has consequences. You got to own up.
Yeah, absolutely. Just the decision that I made, it was just like repeated behavior. You just as humans, you just become like trained behavior, just like kind of brushing teeth every night, putting your sneak. And it's like back in the day when we were younger, before Uber and before Lyft and all that stuff, jumping in the car, having a few beers.
They say you knock on a devil's door long enough, someone's bound to answer.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Quick story about that. Everybody used to think cops are untouchable from drunk driving. And there was a time when we were. And I know exactly when it changed, because I just had this discussion with somebody. There was a state trooper who got into an accident at a Dunkin' Donuts, and he hit somebody and hurt somebody. And at that point, if it's your job or my job, guess which one's winning?
Yeah.
I'll protect you as much as I can, but I cannot protect you if it's going to jeopardize my job.
Yeah.
And that's when everything changed.
Yeah.
In this area anyway.
Yeah.
So for me, everybody has an excuse. All right. Yeah. Excuses are like assholes. Everybody's got one.
Yep.
However, there's one common factor in all those bad decisions that people overlook, and that's you were involved. Not you specifically, but whoever the bad behavior is coming from. So if you're the common denominator, chances are you're the cause of your own bad behavior.
Yeah.
And there's plenty of excuses why people do what they do, and there are reasons for it, but ultimately it's up to you to fix it.
Yeah.
So, Terrence, thank you so much for sending that one. And keep sending in your questions, and we will try to get them on the air.
It's funny. My father always told me you're judged by who you hang out with.
Yeah,
So if you're hanging out with a group that's always getting in trouble, you're always going to get in trouble too.
That is so true. I was just thinking about that the other day. You know, when you're growing up, especially me, I'm from a small town. I live in a very small town, and you become friends with older guys. You know, like I played football.
It's a cool thing to do.
Yeah. So it was just like that was the crowd that you follow. You completely, molds you into that as well. You know.
Yeah, you got with Mike and I, it's, you hung around with the football players. So if the football players were troublemakers, guess what you were? You were a troublemaker.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I think I was the head troublemaker.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah, well, but, you hang around with dogs long enough, you get fleas.
Yeah.
So you traveled a long way. How far was your drive?
Oh, I didn't look exactly how many miles, but it was almost 3 hours. Yeah, it was like 100 and something miles maybe. But
Well, you had a nice traveling companion, which is very nice. You bring your entourage into the studio.
absolutely, I was very lucky to have Tiffany with me today.
But the thing is, do you listen to the same type of music? Because I hate long trips with someone because my ex-wife used to be like a big disco head. We'd be fighting over the radio stations.
Music's kind of one of our things. We enjoy some of the same music. So,
Taylor Swift.
I got T Swift. But no, that's not what I was jamming out to. My daughter loves Taylor Swift, so I'll jam out to that on the way into school. But no, Tiffany and I, we listen to a lot of the same music. She's a little bit more into country than me. That's not really my genre, but
country's that one genre of and I like all genres of music. I do. I really like all genres of music except country.
There's two that I don't really like heavy metal, like screaming, like people jumping up and down, like
that's me. Stage diving, slam dancing, all that stuff.
I hate my parents.
Yeah, like that gets my blood pressure going a little bit too high, and country like sucks the life out of me sometimes. It's just like I need some energy and beats, and I'm good.
There's one country musician that I like, and he's really not a country musician, and that's Darius Rucker. He's not really even a country.
Yeah.
He's Hootie.
Yes, he's Hootie.
He's a Hootie. He's not a country. Come on.
Shut up, Darius. You're Hootie.
You're Hootie.
So yeah, we had a good drive though, jamming out.
Good. So you've traveled all this way. I want you to tell our audience. Listen, we've spoken enough. Where I feel like I know you even before I met you face to face. But I want you to tell our audience a little bit about yourself.
Oh boy, where do I begin? Anyways, Kevin and Mike, I just wanted to thank you and thank you again. I'm going to get into a little bit about my background. My story starts very early. My dad and mom, had my sister. She was like a year old, and my mom was pregnant with me 6 months or so, and she got ill, and they rushed her to the hospital, and my mom was diagnosed with cancer at the age of 27. So here I am, taken out premature. And
wait, hang on. They removed you from
2 months early, and this is way back. I'm 43 years old, so this is back in 1980. They rushed me to Yale New Haven Hospital. My mom was pregnant, very sick, and they took me out immediately, and she lost her life 30 days after I was taken out.
Wow.
So
your father had to be
my dad. Yeah, my dad struggled a lot. Left with me a premature baby and my sister a year old, and my dad. I don't know if he's ever completely recovered from that, and so fast forward, my stepmom comes into the picture when I was about 2 years old. And my dad, he's a hardworking carpenter, construction union worker, left with, premature baby and my sister, and did whatever he could for his family.
Preemies are a lot of work too. My son was born 6.5 weeks premature, and he had undiagnosed reflux for 6 months. So he was crying because he was hungry. 5 minutes later, he was crying because of reflux.
Yeah. Yeah, I can't really recall how difficult it was, but
it wasn't hard for you.
Yeah, yeah. Feed me, please.
Feed me.
But
feed me. Wipe my ass.
Traditional male roles are you go out and the men go out and earn a living, and the women they're better caregivers to babies than we are. It's just it's a better fit for them because they're better at than us.
Kevin, I'm glad you brought that up. That point exactly has impacted my life completely up until like this current moment of not having that mom, that bond when I was a child,
Absolutely.
Like I wasn't breastfed, I wasn't held, I wasn't cared for by like my mom, and it has impacted my life so dramatically that I didn't really realize it until, recently. And just I feel like neglected at times, especially even with some of my relationships, my personal relationships. I freeze and feel neglected very easily.
I mean, how even like growing up and going to school and everything, you see the moms like dropping their kids off and everything, and you had to feel like
so I get into it a little bit. This is my book over here. I might refer to it for
Live with Honor.
Live with Honor.
That's on Amazon, right?
Yeah, turning tragedy into triumph. Live with Honor, turning tragedy into triumph. It's on Amazon. My dad met my mom when I was so young, and my stepmom that came into the picture, that's who I thought my mom was. She had a son from her previous marriage. She had a son young in age, and my brother came into the family. So it was my brother, my sister, and myself. So we were, a family of three, and my mom and dad never had a kid together. So she brought her son into it, my brother.
Your stepmom.
My stepmom. I always refer to her as my mom because that's all I don't know. She raised me.
That's the only way we're going to be able to separate the two right now.
Yeah.
So I understand what
I'll
you're saying.
say biological mom. Like I kind of refer to it as my biological mom.
Because it doesn't, parents don't have to be your biological parents.
Yeah. So my mom came in at such a early age, and that's all I knew. I thought that was my mom. And I like I said, I brought up in my book when I found out she was going to adopt my sister and I. She wanted to adopt us, so they had to bring in someone from the state to come witness our family before they could sign off on the adoption. So they told me that someone was coming, and I'm like, why are they coming? I'm a very inquisitive person and always have to ask questions. And that's when I realized that wasn't my biological mom.
how old were you at that point?
I was in elementary school. I believe I was in second or third grade. And I talk about it. My best friend, I go to elementary school, and I'm like, my mom's dead. And like, here I am, a second grade or third grade, trying to wrap my mind around
trying to process that whole thing.
Yeah, like this woman that's been in my life for how many years now is not my mom, and like trying to.
Well, think about a reverse, and I don't know if this ever occurred to you. Think about your dad living with that, saying, "At some point, I got to tell this kid."
Yeah, that's a question. That's a good question, Kevin.
But at what age do you actually tell a kid that? Second grade. What are you, 7, 8 years old, maybe?
Yeah. About 8 years old. I was 7. I remember I went to recess, and I started crying. I told my best friend, we're still best friends to this day since kindergarten, and told him I was like, my mom's dead, and he's like, what? Yeah. And because
she just dropped you off this morning. What happened?
Yeah. That's what he knew. That's my mom. Yeah. So. Anyways, it's impacted my life greatly. As I've grown up, now I'm a parent to my daughter, Bella, who's 8 years old. Just missing my biological mom, and almost like the thought of what my life would have been if my mom didn't pass away. It's always has that question mark in the back of my mind. But
you're thinking that, and this is not a dig against your biological mother, but you're thinking that things would have been really good. It could have gone the other way. It can always get worse.
Just that the question of, the unknown.
Yeah. Exactly.
The unknown. Who knows?
The what ifs.
Yeah. So that's always been there for quite a while now. So I grew up with my stepmom, as I call my mom.
Once you found out that she was not your biological mother, did it change your attitude towards her?
No, not at all. That was my mom. My mom and dad worked their asses off for their children. I love sports. I love fishing. I always had, like new fishing pole, hunting, new rifle, always had the best clothes that we could, like my mom would have to hide the receipts from my dad. I'd have new Michael Jordans, like $100. This is back. And like my dad.
But they were Jordan 1s.
Yeah.
That was back in the day.
He would.
Now you can't buy the laces for under $100.
Yeah. So this is going way back. And, they worked very hard and gave us the best life possible. So no, that's all I knew was my mom.
Well, when the adoption, when you finally found out that it wasn't your mother, did she come in and just have a conversation with you, or just it was one of those things like, yeah, this is the way it is? Ready to go?
Kevin, I can't really recall the specifics of that, but I do recall, it being very just very shocking to me as a young kid.
But I mean, you think about it. I mean, it sucks no matter what. But you said your mom came down with cancer when she was pregnant.
Yeah.
Right. What if she was still around and wound up coming down with cancer when you were like 12 years old?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, would that have been more? I'm
Yeah.
just playing devil's advocate here.
Mike, I love that point because there's acceptance of what happens in life is a huge part of anything that we go through on a daily basis, how big or how small. And you can't be like you can't have regrets or anything, and that kind of like brings that topic up to me. It could have been more traumatic if it was later or whatever. So I have accepted the fact that I lost my mom at an early age, and I just do the best I can to make her proud.
So normal childhood, if you had to pick out something that, maybe there were some ripple effects that when you found out that your mother wasn't your biological mother, did it rear its head in any ways?
No, not really. Nothing really sticks out.
And what kind of kid? Tell me what kind of kid you are.
Oh man, talkative. I was talkative.
Believe it or not.
Yeah.
He hasn't shut up since he walked in the door.
Oh man, thanks a lot, Mike. But no, literally, I was always like, trying to make jokes. I was a joke. Like my desk was up near the teacher's desk. My whole. I'm not kidding. I'd have to earn stickers to go back with the class, and I remember that home phone ringing like many times from the teachers calling home like, oh yeah, Michael was a little bit disruptive. Disruptive was a word I heard often in middle school, but and in elementary school. I've always been optimistic, upbeat, energetic, and after the tragedy that I've gone through and overcome, it's just kind of been magnified even a little bit more, just because I appreciate everything in life a little bit more now.
It's funny how tragedy and trauma can bring out things that you didn't even know existed.
It's like on the ride down here, I'm just looking over left, right, like being able to like get a coffee and drive down here. It's just like
looking at the garbage on the side of the roads. Is that what you're doing in New Jersey?
I actually work for the Department of Transportation in Connecticut, and I was noticing that you guys need a little bit of trash picking up over here.
New Jersey, yes, in many ways than just the garbage on the road.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I could name some people.
So yeah, I grew up playing sports, loved sports, being outside, and just had a regular life, and realized at an early age I wanted to join the United States Marine Corps. My dad was a Marine. I was 4th generation military in my family, and that's all I ever wanted to do. In high school, I just focused on that.
You weren't one of those Hollywood Marines, were you?
Nah, man.
So
I get a picture. Come on, he was the poster child for
no. So with Marines, and I used to. One of my better friends, he was an older Marine. He was in DR during that conflict.
Yeah.
Shows you his age, shows you how old he was before he passed. But he schooled me on all things Marines. And anybody who went to San Diego, they were called Hollywood Marines. Like what a Mustang is, and I knew all that stuff.
Yeah. So everyone on the east side of the Mississippi River goes to Parris Island. Everyone on the west side of the Mississippi River goes to San Diego. And and as I went into like the Marine Corps, and you did kind of notice a little bit of button heads, like, oh, you're from San Diego, and no, you're from Parris Island. Yeah, I mean they don't have sand fleas in San Diego. And
so who was a Hollywood Marine? This is going to shock you. Is Arlie Ermy.
Oh yeah,
he was a Hollywood Marine. Yep, and he was a DI in San Diego.
Wow.
But I drove right past the San Diego Bay. I spent some time in San Diego.
21 Palms.
29 pounds.
29 pounds.
That's a couple hours outside of it's out in this. It's in the desert. I think it's a couple I want to say a couple hours outside of San Diego. But yeah, 29 Palms. That's like a pit. Yeah, there's nothing to do out there.
If you ever been down to the Parris Island area, especially in summertime, and then go to San Diego in the summertime, two vastly different landscapes.
Yeah,
vastly different. But I don't know. Maybe he kind of got screwed because I heard about the big Lejeune lawsuits.
Oh yeah, the
how's
water.
that water down there?
So like I have a good friend of mine. I'm gonna bring his name up. He's like an awesome dude. He was a Marine as well, old timer Marine. Lenny King, and yeah, he's an old timer. We have a close relationship, and yeah, he. I remember he made the phone call. He's like, yeah, man, they I guess he's eligible for all that stuff now, and I mean he was back in a long time ago.
I get all the emails because I did try to join the Marines. Unfortunately, I had too many knee surgeries, and they're like, no, you're good. Which is good because I would have went to the Gulf. It would have.
Yeah.
I tried to join the Marines too, and my mother said no.
Yeah,
so I didn't do it.
Yeah.
Oh man, I've said this on air before. When my grandfather was in World War II, he kicked the shit out of me when he found out I tried to enlist. He's like, "What is the matter with you? You're smart. You go to college. You don't go to the military."
Yeah,
because he really had a dislike for officers more than anything else.
My dad didn't tell me that until after the Marines. You know, he's like, "Don't be like me." You know, like hammer and nails, go to school and get But they weren't arguing about me going into the Marines in high school because I needed to get a little bit of discipline and grow up a little
I
bit.
could have used that discipline too.
Yeah,
that's.
I think we all can.
Yeah.
I still probably could go back to boot camp right now and learn a few things.
Give me some more discipline.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you joined the Marines.
Yeah.
Right out of high school, or?
So 17 years old. I joined early. I told my parents, I'm like, I want to be a Marine. They're like, oh, great. That's the best idea you've ever had. Yeah. Like, let's go to the recruiters like right now.
Do you need a ride?
I wasn't it might have been 16 or 17. It was right around that time. So like, yeah, I think we left dinner early even. And we went to the recruiter's office.
Check, please.
He's yours now.
So I met with one guy and we kind of butted heads. I'll never forget his name, Gunnery Sergeant Yateman. And we just butted heads. Like he wanted me to be like in like food service and stuff. Yeah. Like I'm like, man, I'm all good with that, man. I'm not looking at a 100-gallon pot of like mashed potatoes and shit. I'm all set with that. So I felt forced into the job that he wanted me to have. So I'm like, I'm not going to see that guy again. Like I'm not talking to him again. Yeah. So we ended up going to another guy, and I signed up. Signed up then and there, went up to Springfield, Massachusetts, passed the physical and everything like that.
The ASVAB test and all that?
Oh, yeah. I did pretty well on the ASVABs. I picked the job. I was in aviation operations specialist, 7041 aviation operations specialist, which is like crew chief of Cobra helicopters and stuff like that. So, which is pretty cool. And so here I am enlisted, my senior year of high school. I'm playing football. I dislocate my shoulder my senior year of football. And like you said, Kevin, if you have a joint injury and you've already enlisted in the Marines, you're automatically disqualified. So here I am. All I knew was to be a Marine my whole entire life. I wanted to, serve my country, and devastated. One football injury. I had to have surgery. Like I have like a rotator cuff surgery over here, and got disqualified from the Marine Corps. Had an amazing surgeon, followed my physical therapy, to a T, and ended up forwarding my paperwork up to headquarters of Marine Corps and get reapproved to get back in the Marine Corps. And it's still pretty amazing.
It had to be devastating when they told you couldn't go in, though.
I thought I was disqualified for good. And I don't think I was cut out for college back when I was 19 years old.
But it's sort of
57. I'm still not cut out for college.
Yeah.
It just goes to show you, though, if you want something bad enough, you're going to do everything you can to get it.
Yeah.
And if you don't get it, that's because you didn't want it bad enough.
That's a good point. Yeah. I think I was on one like failure. It was like when you guys had a question or whatever on one of your earlier podcasts a few months ago, or whatever, and like failure is one of the biggest reasons to push me. I'm afraid of failure, and that was one of them.
I've actually come to embrace failure now.
Well, I think it was a question.
Social media question?
Yeah, social media question. What are you afraid of?
Yeah, I remember I wrote in on the bottom, like I'm afraid of failure. Yeah. And
that's right. It was on Instagram Live.
Instagram Live.
Yeah,
that's right.
And that kind of like brings that to my mind. I didn't want to fail. I had an injury and I had to overcome it. And,
what kind of wake up call was Paris Island for?
Oh man, I still remember quite a bit of it. It's pretty amazing. It's like it's still baffles my mind how when I got off the airport, they had Marines that knew like who we were. Like, I'm like, we're in a corner of an airport. We're getting yelled at and screamed at. I'm like, what the? I'm like, where? Like, I don't have a sign on my forehead that's like, hey, I'm headed to Paris Island. But like these drill instructors, I'm not kidding you. It is so true. From the second you get off like that plane and get on that bus, every second of your time on Paris Island, you have something to do. It's like unreal. I kind of enjoyed it. I loved being, an athlete and physical activity. And I saw some people, I'm like, what the heck, man? You can't do 20 damn pull-ups. I'm like, Jesus. But I enjoyed it. And it was pretty, you become a man down in Paris Island. That's for damn sure. There's not much that is, I'm afraid of. And they take you out of high school and turn you into a man.
I think the world would be a better place if we all had to go to some sort of armed service branch.
Yeah, I agree.
I'm going to sign up for the Space Force because I hear they're taking older people.
Oh, yeah. I don't know.
Coast Guard.
Well, my uncle started in the Navy, went to Vietnam, and then transferred to the Coast Guard. He had the best job I ever saw in my life.
Yeah.
So he was the highest you could get as an enlisted man, but he was captain of the boat.
Yep.
And all they did was drive pilings up and down the shore.
Yep.
Spent most of his time. It lives in Hawaii now. Spent most of his time in Hawaii. He took me on the boat a couple times when they were docked in the Atlantic City Marina, and everybody calls him Cap. The boat was immaculate. I mean, I was like, wow, this is really cool stuff.
A lot of active cops are doing that now. They're joining like Coast Guard Reserve.
Right.
They do it 1 week in a month and 2 weeks, and they get a pension out of that too now.
Yeah.
One of my best speaking engagements, now you bring that up, Coast Guard Academy is right up in my neck of the woods. It's in New London, Connecticut. Connected with a couple people. One of the guys, awesome dude, Eric Murray. He's like one of my mentors. Retired state police officer. Dude's one awesome dude. Does a lot of leadership training. Him and I connected, and I'm like, man, I need to meet with you. And this was right when I was becoming a speaker and going out and talking. And military bases is my favorite place to speak. As soon as I, show that picture with me in dress blues and I'm talking at any military base, that earns instant credibility with them. Because like when you're in the military and you like come into like some training and some dude that's a civilian's like telling you how to do it, I'm like, dude, man, get out of here. Like you have no idea what it is. Yeah. So I love being able to speak at military bases because I just know the lifestyle of military, soldiers and what we do. So
because you can relate.
100%.
Yeah.
So I spoke at the Coast Guard Academy, and one of the gifts they gave me, this is like something that sticks in my mind, was the Coast Guard training vessel. It's like this little training vessel. They had it in a box or whatever. So here I am, a Marine. I get a gift from the Coast Guard Academy after I spoke, and it was like over like 1,500 cadets in the audience, and they all like went crazy when they saw me get their training vessel. And I still have that thing right on like one of my like prized possessions that I own, gifts from the military base that I speak at. So yeah, I enjoy speaking at the Coast Guard Academy.
Well, the eyes are always on, like if you're going to go to an academy, a military academy, the eyes are always on West Point or Annapolis.
Yeah.
They're all, but people forget
Air
Force Academy, Coast Guard Academy,
Yeah.
Merchant Marine Academy, and plus all the other military academies. You can't overlook them because you're still getting a high class education.
Prestigious. It is prestigious over there at the Coast Guard Academy. It is beautiful, beautiful area over there.
And plus it's government funded.
Yeah, exactly.
When it's government funded, usually stuff's pretty good. It's either crap or it's really good.
Yeah.
I wish I would have known about that 40 years ago when I was graduating high school.
Yeah, we didn't really get the best barracks when we were going to the rifle range back in Louisiana.
What barracks were you in?
1st Battalion.
First Battalion.
I still remember my laundry number and my platoon number,
Wasn't
1045.
4th Battalion, the Quonset hut?
That's the female. That's the female.
That was the female.
Females, 4th.
Then they changed it because that was always like the shit.
No, there's 4 women. I don't know the history of all like.
We're talking the 60s,
Yeah, so I know the 4th Battalion's women. So I was 1st Battalion, Delta Company, 1045, platoon 1045. I still remember all my drill instructors. It's like crazy. It's like, how do I even remember that?
Yeah.
I mean,
it's like
to some extent, you remember all your drills in the police academy.
Absolutely.
Yeah, they used to mess with me quite a bit. And actually, I was just speaking about it the other day because UConn just won the national championship. And here I am, a diehard UConn fan. So they see this is like, I'm getting letters in the mail. My dad's letting me know to march. I was in boot camp during March Madness, and he was telling me when they won. And this is the year they upset Duke and ended up beating Mateen Cleaves, Michigan State in the 1999 championship. And my drill instructor was a Duke fan. So I woke up the next morning and they call it the quarter deck. And I'm getting smoked on the quarter deck. And I had a smile on my face, and he even smoked me more. And he knew, and he knew I knew why I was so that was when UConn beat Duke the next morning. So yeah, it was pretty crazy. I was just thinking about that the other day.
To a lesser degree, like I understand the military training, especially Marines, because my drill was Force Recon Marine.
Yeah.
And he was about as serious as a heart attack. And he was about 5'2". Scared the shit out of me.
Yeah.
I mean, like scared the shit out of me. But that motherfucker could stay in the lean and rest for days. He reminds me a lot of you, but you tower over top of him. I mean, you tower over top of him.
There's about 10 people in the world that I tower over.
And this son of a bitch smoked like a chimney, could still run just almost a sub 5 minute mile.
Yeah.
I was like, what the fuck, man? You guys, he was like a machine.
Yeah.
But everything was serious. Never pointed at you. You know, it was always the chop.
Mm-hmm.
It was always this. And then, we used to make fun of him at the end of it.
It's just the mentality of a Marine is to not to fail and not to give up, no matter what. It's, that's instilled in you. And, if I'm not the best at something, I'm going to give it my all at it. And that's.
Well, you always work on the stuff that you're not the best at.
Yeah.
Because that's how you get better at everything.
Yeah,
break you down to build you up.
Yeah. Yeah, it's amazing. Paris on it, like I look back, it was like pretty crazy looking back on it. It's, yeah, it was quite an experience.
Cracks me up how he smirks every time he brings up Parasite. He's got a smile on his face.
There's a few stories.
No, there's some stories that he's
oh, man. Like, I'm telling you, man, there's a couple stories. I'm like, holy shit, just pretty crazy. Yeah, we were leaving for the crucible. I'll tell a story. It's like one of the funny. So you see me smirk, you notice that, Mike. It's hard for me to hide my smirk, even in Paris Island in South Carolina. So we're waking up.
Which probably got you in a lot of trouble, too.
I'm about to get into one of them right now. So when you first get there, you're treated like shit. Like you're below dirt.
Below whale shit.
Yeah, you're not even like a human being.
What year is this? I just want to know.
This is 1999.
Oh, so you're like a private pile situation.
Right around that time, yeah, a little. So like we're like nothing. I mean, I saw guys try committing suicide, and here I am, 19 years old, straight out of a small town, and I'm like, holy shit, this, and like there wasn't much diversity in my town in high school, and like all this was new to me, and here I am, I'm like, holy shit, I'm about to graduate. We have the crucible. It's 72 hours.
72 hours.
No food, no water, and we're like, we call it humping. It's hiking. So we were like humping miles and miles with our pack. So we'll wake up at like 3 a.m. to take off. And this is the last test. And I'm like, holy shit, I'm being a Marine. And we got a banana. Like, I'll never forget it. Like, we get a banana and like, we don't get that shit on the regular. Like, you barely have time to eat in the chow hall. Like, barely. So we get a banana and I'm like having a smirk on my face. And I'll never forget it. Staff Sergeant Hirschman, my senior drill instructor, he's like the god. He's a senior drill instructor, Staff Sergeant Hirschman. He saw me with a smile on my face. He jacked me up against my bed, like against my bunk beds, and smeared the banana all over my face. And I'm like, oh my! I mean, he lifted me like off the ground, and yeah, and that smirk got me in trouble that day. And I didn't get to enjoy the banana like everybody else did. But yeah, no.
Did you ever get deployed?
I never got deployed. I was in right during 9/11, and I was enrolled in college full time. I was about ready to get out, and I just was speaking about this the other day. I'm sitting at my desk working, and the next thing you know, we're checking out our war gear, flak jacket. We're doing 24/7 security. Like the whole base was on lockdown. We're doing perimeter checks, vehicles checks. Pat downs of people. Like no one knew what was happening next. Like this country, there was planes, like crashing all over the country pretty much. And so yeah, I was on base security, on lockdown, but I never did get deployed.
You're almost better off because
yeah.
But
I can't change it.
But I imagine there was a part of you that was ready to, like, you didn't join the Marines to cook food, like you said.
No. I can't change what happened, like I would have gone anywhere they sent me, and I did whatever. I mean, it was stressful time even after 9/11, like here I am.
Yeah, absolutely.
They thought our base, the Mississippi River, the mouth of the Mississippi River, and billions of dollars go through there on boats, and we thought there was going to be like they were going to blow up just imagine all the boats coming up like up the Mississippi River, bringing goods from down south all the way up north. So no, they thought there could have been like something going on around there. So
Nobody knew.
yeah,
Nobody knew. Like we had ADP in it. Some as small as that. We had ADP, which that plant processed like most of the East Coast paychecks.
yeah,
We were watching that
yeah,
because we were thinking, okay, well, that's a high value target.
Yeah.
They blow up, paycheck shut down,
Yeah.
shuts down our economy.
Yeah.
And then you're telling me you got billions and billions of dollars running through the Mississippi. Makes
yeah.
sense.
Barges heading up, like, and they want to shut down the economy,
Cut
whatever.
off the
you know.
supply.
Yeah. So yeah, like I remember, like we checked out our war gear M16, and I was like, damn, like it wasn't every day we ran.
This shit's getting real.
Yeah, we didn't have ammunition in our rifles at all times, unless like we evacuated. It's crazy. I was on the hurricane disaster platoon, and they evacuated the city. I was staying back protecting the base too. So
Wow.
yeah, they evacuated a couple times, and I left of less than a year of before Katrina. I would have been down there.
What was the transition like? When was there any plan on re-upping? What was the
No, man.
You were done?
No,
One and done?
One staff NCO kind of like gave me a bad taste in my mouth about it, and I was like, no, I'm all good. And plus, I knew I didn't want to deploy all the time and make a career of it. I wanted to, come back home, and I ended up going to college. And actually, like college is where my big tragedy came from.
GI Bill?
I did use the GI Bill. I went to a small school, Eastern Connecticut State University, commuting to school, bartender, working at a yacht club up in near the ocean, like upscale yacht club, just making money part-time and, going to school full-time, business degree, and going out and having fun like every other college kid.
The transition from ultra discipline to now you got some freedom.
Yeah.
How did you navigate those waters?
What, like from the military back to civilian world?
Yeah.
Oh man, I carried a lot of those, with me into the civilian world. Took everything very seriously. Like I said, when I was in high school, I wasn't ready for college. Like now, like when the discipline in the Marines, instilled in me, and I took college very seriously. I had fun during college, but I never missed a class. Like I pride myself in never missing a class and putting in the work. And I think it was a normal transition. Yeah, nothing really sticks out as far as
I barely made a class. That's why I'm not. That's
So yeah.
that's why I'm here.
So I paid for my college. That's the only thing that kept me going to class. I swear to God.
Yeah.
I'm like, if I miss a class, and I did the math in my head. I'm like, I'm losing that much
Yeah,
money.
no, I was getting paid by the GI Bill. I was having fun and bartending and doing pretty well in college. I knew I wanted to, work in business. I was always told, you should get into sales, you should do this and that. So business was kind of, the path that I chose.
But bartending has some benefits
And
it
some
has
drawbacks.
And some drawbacks.
Yeah.
I know this from bouncing. Mike can attest to this as well, from bouncing and bartending.
Yeah.
One for you, one for me.
See, I wasn't really big I wasn't really big into that. Back in the day, I didn't drink really much at work. It was when I went out and had fun with my friends, like I was in college and single and going out and having fun, and UConn just won the national championship. UConn was like less than 15 minutes away from where I went to college. And so it was like
Done.
like my Division III school. Yeah, this is all right. But UConn, yeah, that's way more fun. And when I was in the Marines, I was stationed in New Orleans, Louisiana. So you want to talk about a kid coming from a small town in Connecticut and then going down Bourbon Street? And I lived there the whole entire time. Yeah. And I'm like, we're going out Monday, Tuesday, went every night. And like, yeah, just drinking down there is a whole
it's a whole different ball game.
It's like we would grab like a daiquiri. Like up here, we grab a coffee in the morning. Mm-hmm. We're going to a drive-through daiquiri shop to like
I heard about those.
No shit.
I've heard about them.
Oh my God. Like we would wake up and go to the daiquiri shop. That would be the first thing.
I've been in New Orleans twice. And when you wait to check into the hotel, they have complimentary hurricanes, which was a big red
hand grenades, hurricanes, you name it. So here I am. Like I was like New Orleans, Louisiana. So that sort of mentality I carried up to Connecticut with me when I was going to college. Like my buddies would pick me up at the airport with like, we used to call it a roll pop bag, like
it's a road soda.
Soda. So we'd have like a cooler of beers and we'd like go like pick them up from the airport and have a few drinks on the way home. And that's just the mentality we had.
But think about that drive-through service.
They don't take the top off the straw. That's the law. So you know that little portion that your server leaves
So
on
you
your
take
drink?
the top off when you get home. Yeah.
Yeah. So
sure.
it's driving under the influence if you take the top off the straw. Yeah.
Open container because the top's off the straw.
But isn't the world trying to advocate for not drinking and driving? And there you go, picking it up.
Well, listen,
it's foreign
up in
concept.
Pittsburgh, they have these like beer warehouses where you pull your car right in. The guy says, "What do you need? Give me like 2 cases of that, 2 cases of that." You put them right in your car for, and you pull out.
We got to talk to Bernie. One of our supporters, Bernie O'Brien. He lives in Pittsburgh, and he's an interesting character. That's probably the reason why they do it, because they don't want him in a store.
Exactly.
Yeah, they just try to keep him outside of the store.
Yeah.
So, like in a normal day, going out with your friends, what was the normal drink capacity?
Like on a night out, like 10, 12 beers, like 10 to 12 beers and like nothing.
Nothing, yeah.
Yeah, like I'm not really a big heavy drinker. That shit came out later. Now I don't drink, and the whole IPA, heavier beer shit, I was like Coors Light. That's all I ever drank, and like mostly water or whatever. But yeah, we'd probably have like 10, 12 drinks a night and be like nothing,
But it was never a problem, right?
Making a bad decision, drinking and driving, just, we took turns, we live in the sticks of Connecticut, going out, we live by 2 big casinos as well. And that's what we would do, and go out, have fun. And
that's Foxwoods, right?
Foxwoods and Mohegan Sun. I live literally like 15, 20, 25 minutes between the both of them, like they're very close. And we grew up in the sticks, and that's the only thing to do is to go to the casinos or go up to Yukon. So
the American Indians got it right.
Yeah.
Right.
They suffered a little bit recently, but it's coming around. So yeah, I made the selfish and poor decisions. My friends and we would always drink and drive, and
because it becomes normal.
Train. Yeah, you do it once.
You don't think about it.
Yeah. I always use the example. It's like, once you get away with something once and twice, it's like trained behavior. It's, I did it once, I did it twice, and like nothing ever will happen to me. And,
that's the worst thing. The worst thing that could ever happen is you get away with it.
Yeah, exactly. You get caught the first time, you're never going to do it again.
See, like you guys, here I now am as we get a little bit more into my story, and I'll talk. Like first time pulled over, 1 year in prison, no attorney,
in Connecticut. What?
Bam. No, I'm saying that's what should be.
To change the laws.
First time, bam. You're not even getting a phone call. You're not even getting an attorney. You're getting right out of your car, going to prison for a year. Like
send a message.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But it's all about money.
There's an interesting question for you that, if you knew the consequences of drunk driving are well documented or well documented, but most people don't think about them. But they all know that drinking and driving is bad.
They don't think about it until it happens to them.
Exactly.
Why do you think it happens?
Society accepts drinking in general. What happens when someone gets promoted? Hey, we're going out having drinks. Holiday party. Hey, wine, drinks, wedding, birthday parties. Everyone, like, it's a culture. It's the part of American culture. Alcohol is a society accepted thing. And, I
always laugh during Prohibition, doctors used to give out prescriptions. Sounds a little familiar. Used to give out prescriptions for alcohol so people could drink. It's like, I got post-traumatic stress, so I can have a prescription for alcohol. But it sounds a little parallel to what's going on now.
Yeah.
With the marijuana.
Yeah. I don't know. I think society accepts alcohol. It's huge shoved in people's faces. And also a lot of people are insecure and don't have the confidence, after having a few drinks. And that,
you get that lube going.
Now they all start, you're in a bar and now you start talking to anybody.
Oh, yeah.
A couple of drinks later.
So you say people always know the consequences of.
They don't know the full consequences. They know. Here's what they know: if I get pulled over when I'm drunk and I'm driving, I'm going to lose my license. Get an attorney, get it back, go through a few classes, whatever. Hey, no big deal. So that's an awesome topic that you talk. So I said like 1 year. Like I don't give a shit. You need to feel the pain. Mm-hmm.
People, human beings, don't make a change until they feel the pain, and that's
absolutely.
It's like. You get slapped on the hand a couple times. Oh, that doesn't hurt. But like, bam, you get the belt from your mom or dad, and you're gonna feel the pain, and you won't do that shit again.
Well, I mean, that's with any crime now. With bail reform and everything, nobody's getting in trouble anymore.
No.
Yeah.
So they have this bail reform. They give you a slap on the wrist. You're back on the street, and they're committing the same crimes again.
Yeah.
So you got to think through the consequences of your actions, And it's not until some tragedy strikes where you're like, and that's usually the way every decision goes in life. Like you do a little thing here or a little thing there, and it's not a big deal.
Yeah.
When you get spanked hard, now all of a sudden you learn your lesson.
The whip got cracked on me for sure.
And you learned a very, very difficult lesson.
Yes, sir.
So talk to me about the fateful night that we're obviously here to talk about the suffering of drunk driving.
Yeah.
Which is sort of the crux of your story.
Yeah, part of it for sure. Like I said, my lifestyle in the Marines, going out New Orleans, partying, having fun. I carried that up to, Connecticut, going out bars, doing great in school, but making the same poor decisions I was making, in New Orleans. And went out one night. I remember whatever I can kind of through friends and whatever memory I have. It was cold as shit. Like, I remember it was like one of them wicked cold days in February. We had got a few inches of snow the night before, warmed up, and I never had class on Friday. And I was out the night before, slept at my buddy's place up Thursday, big night to go out. We went out. So I worked out all the time at the gym, in my local gym, and I saw my friend Rich at the gym. We had always talked about going out, but his part-time schedule with his work and school, like, never lined up until he's like, "Hey man, what are you doing tonight?" I'm like, "Oh, we're going up to Yukon." He's like, "No shit." And this was the first week back of college, my last semester. I'm like, here I am, a high school kid that like drank in parking lots and like went out in the fields and had fun, going house party. Like, I'm about to graduate college. I'm like, there's no freaking way. Like, that's kind of a big deal, like for me. So yeah, we're excited and went out, and he's like, "Come pick me up. I'm going to my friend's birthday party and I'll go out with your friends." This was our rival town, like high school football, like that's huge. And like, it's like, varsity blues type shit,
exactly.
Plainfield, Griswold, we hated each other. And then as we got older, we became friends, and he was from our rival town and a popular group of friends. And I told him I'd pick him up at the birthday party. So I went home, showered, and I was getting ready. And I'm walking out the door, and my mom's like, "Michael, be careful. The roads might get icy later." I'm like, "Yeah, Ma, whatever."
Which is a question that every parent has said to their kid. I used to turn around to my parents and go, "I'm glad you reminded me of that, because I was going to be fucking reckless. I was going to do everything wrong."
See, my parents never said like, "Oh, who's going to be driving?" Like, it's just like, it was what we did. It's like, unfortunately, yes, they hated the fact that I did it. They probably told me not to do it or whatever, but she just said, "Be careful. It's going to be icy." I'll never forget those words. And here I am walking out the door, and go pick up a 12-pack of beer, go to the birthday party, pick up my friend Rich, drop his car off at his parents' house, and we stop at my other buddy's house, and we're just heading up to Yukon, man. Like, me and 4 or 5 of my friends, and going out, dancing, drinking beers, and close the bar out. 2 a.m. is nothing to someone that's been in New Orleans for quite a few. 2 a.m. is
where next?
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
24-hour town.
Like, what like party on the campus of Yukon are we going to next? But like, anyways, we closed the bar out, and I remember it was like freezing cold, and dropped off my friend at Eastern.
What year? What year was this?
2005.
2005.
So
okay.
2005. I'm in my senior year of college, about ready to graduate. Can't even freaking believe it, to be honest. And heading home, and I live in the sticks, like literally the sticks. And
People don't think Connecticut's the sticks, but they got some rural areas.
Yeah.
With the windy roads.
Yeah.
Hills.
Yeah.
Yeah. Trees right on top of the roads. Like, literally the roots are like pushing up the road from where, like, yeah, not like out here, man. Nothing like it out here. So I had driven almost an hour already home, like back from Yukon, less than 15 minutes on my way home, coming down a hill around a corner. My car hits a patch of black ice, I lose control. I'm driving. And I remember, like, it's crazy how everything happened that night. Like, I shouldn't be sitting in this chair. Like, I didn't have my seatbelt on. I always wore my seatbelt. I didn't like the shirt that I was wearing. I borrowed my buddy's shirt. Like, I was a little bit of a
fashionista.
A little bit of a metro. Metro, I'd have like my shirt hanging up. Not that bad, man. Like, but no, I took care of myself. I like to look good, and I didn't like my shirt. I wasn't feeling it, so I grabbed his, and I went inside, used the bathroom, and never strapped my seatbelt on afterwards. And Rich was sitting in the front seat, hit a tree. I get ejected 20 feet from the vehicle, no seatbelt. Snow, 6 inches of snow on someone's front yard. and it was a kid actually coming home from a date. He was out.
You were
night,
knocked out at this point, yeah.
unconscious.
Yeah.
Laying, and my car was still running. I'll never forget the Game CD had just came out. It was blaring. The Game. I'm a little into hip hop and R&B. That shit was blaring, and
It's okay. We won't hold it against you.
it's all good, man.
But before you go any further,
Yeah.
we're just about out of time for this week. So I hate to do this to our audience, but I'm going to ask you a question. Would you be willing to come back next week?
I know it's a
finish
little
this
bit of
story?
a hike, but
Because I think this is about to get real freaking dark.
Absolutely,
And
Kevin.
I want to devote the proper amount of time to it.
100%. And it would be an honor to be able to come back here again.
All right, so that's going to do it for this episode. This is just going to be part 1. We're going to break this up into part 2.
yeah, there's too much to get into.
Yeah, we
just right here.
I'm not even going to do what we learned because I didn't even learn anything yet. So that's going to do it for this episode of the Suffering Podcast. Don't forget, go to popple.com, get yourself a free digital business, or not a free, I said it again,
Yeah.
a digital business card, put in TSP20 for a 20% discount. Follow us on all social media, TikTok, Facebook, LinkedIn. Follow Mike at Mike_Failace. Follow me at Real Kevin Donaldson. Of course, follow the Suffering Podcast. And don't forget, you can always listen before you watch. Don't forget to ring the bell. We're on the race to 10,000.
And comment.
Comment.
Let's get some comments on there. We enjoy comments, good, bad, and different.
We always answer those comments. So we're going to see you to wrap this because it's about to get real serious in here. We'll see you on the next episode.